What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Roy, accompanied by the one, the only, the Dominican bad man, Sergio, aka the floor price guy. And we're Combat Sport guys coming back to you with another UFC full card breakdown, picks, analysis, opinions, maybe some bets for UFC Saudi Arabia. Adesanya versus Imavov. This is Adesanya's first non-title match since 2019. He's up against an individual who's on a 3-fight win streak looking to get into title contention. We're going to break down the whole card. But before we do that, make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you follow us on X. Every fight card we release our full fight analysis immediately after the fight ends, per fight, round by round, with the live odds updating. A lot of people seem to like that. We get a lot of engagement with that. We are growing that account. We are at 1,500 followers. Make sure you tap in there, follow us there. We release content that we don't release on YouTube there. We put our picks out there. We put our bets out there. We put parlays out there. We engage with you guys out there. So make sure you follow us on X. Follow us on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit the subscribe. If you don't agree with the pick we make or one of our takes, let us know. We're not going to take offense to it. We're not going to crash out. We're not going to be mad. Last week, UFC 311, we hit 9 of 13. We gave you some picks at dog money. Aileen Perez, the Ritter by sub. A lot of these other people were telling you Holland's going to knock out the Ritter, but that wasn't the case. Now we have a new card. The UFC is set to have a card every week up until March. So we're being blessed. We're being blessed here. How you doing, my man? How
I'm
you
good.
doing? How are you?
We
Let
got
the people know.
UFC.
How you doing?
I'm vibing. We got UFC Saudi Arabia this weekend. Early start time. Unfortunately, in front of our eyes, the first fight we were gonna call got canceled. Abdul versus Oki.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate, but hey, I mean, does that mean we get to sleep a little bit more? Does the fight start at 10 a.m.?
That's a good question. And thank you for bringing that up. On this card, Abdul Karim Al Sawadi has had like some unfortunate luck. His first opponent, Jordan Levitt, pulled out. He withdrew. And then now Levitt's replacement, Oki, as you mentioned, has also withdrawn from his bout. We also lost the Ikram Aleskarov up against Andre Munoz fight due to Munoz having passport issues. He wasn't able to get into Saudi Arabia, so that fight was also squashed. It's going to be scheduled at a later date. But without further ado, let's get into this card. Now, kicking off the card, we have Hamdi Abdelwahab versus Jamal Pogue. Abdelwahab is 3-0 and is 4-5 in their last 5 bouts, last having a no contest up against Dontel Mays. Pogues is 11-4-0 and is 4-5 in their last 5 bouts, last beating Thomas Petersen, who's also on this card, via unanimous decision. What do you think of this fight, man? Who do you got? I want to hear your point of view.
Yeah. So I mean, this is actually an interesting fight. Both of them are dead even.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is more in that kind of area, which is Saudi Arabia, which is Egypt. You got the American Pogues going in to, to enemy territory.
Mm-hmm.
After analyzing the fight, Hamdi is known for his wrestling. I'm gonna go with Hamdi. The thing is, Hamdi does have some wrestling background, but Pogues moves
Mm-hmm.
very, very well. So it really all comes down to at this point the takedown. And one of the things that caught my eye was Hamdi won his last fight against Don Tail Mays, which is a sparring partner of John Jones. This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He won it, split decision, but then tested positive for steroids.
Mm.
So the UFC gave him the 2 year ban. Yeah, now he's fighting overseas after literally 2 years and a half. So let's see what happens. What do you
Yeah.
got?
I think I also agree. I'm gonna go Abdul Wahab. I think he, no disrespect to Pogues. Pogues can grapple. He's a high volume fighter. He's not afraid to take fights to the ground, but struggles when he's in positions of disadvantage off his back. And I think, when you look at Abdul Wahab, he's primarily a wrestler, right? He's gonna come in with the grappling game plan, and he does have some powers to set up, some power behind his strikes to set up his takedowns. So I think he's going to come in with a wrestle heavy game plan. If he's able to take down Pogues, control him throughout the fight, I think he's going to get it done here. He's just a better wrestler. He's going to secure takedowns. He's going to control Pogues. And he also has the edge in power. So I'm going to go with Abdelwahab here to win this fight. I agree with you.
All
Everything you
right.
said.
All right. Can we get the screen?
Oh yeah, I forgot. See, I'd be slacking. This
It's
is
all
why I
good.
need this is why I need you, Serge. Without you, man, I
It's all
fucking
good.
would have I would have had that image the whole time up.
It's all good.
Next up, we have Bogdan Bogdan Grad up against Lucas Alexander. Grad is 14-2-0 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last beating Michael Aswell via split decision. Alexander's 8-4-0 and is 3-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Jekka Sargi via KO. You know, Grad, when you look at him, he's a nice technical wrestler, technical striker. I mean, he keeps it at his pace. His power is his biggest asset. His style, though, leaves him vulnerable to being hit and counter struck. You know, he kind of has a wild style. So when you fight like that, there's always the possibility of getting hit and getting counter struck. You know, when you look at Alexander, he's a powerful striker. He likes to get close inside the pocket and light you up. He's coming off a KO loss, and I wonder how he'll come into this fight. You know, his cardio also isn't the best. And one of the things I say repeatedly in this channel is when a fighter comes off of a KO loss or a submission loss, how is their mindset going to be going into their next fight? Are they going to be gun shy? Are they going to be hesitant? Are they going to have somewhat of that PTSD from getting knocked out, that they don't want to get knocked out again? They don't want to put themselves in that position. So do they adjust their fighting style? So that's the big question I'm going to have for Alexander, and I want to see how his cardio looks. But I think for myself, I'm gonna go with Bogdan Grad to win here. I think he's going to be more composed, and he will ease into this fight and make it his fight to lose. I think he's going to control the pace. He's going to control the distance and kind of manage the fight and kind of increase the pace and the level as the fight progresses. So, you know, as Alexander starts off hot and then withers away, I think Grad is going to start off cold and then get hotter. Who do you got, my man?
I'm gonna have to go with Grad as well. I mean, I just don't like.
Cool.
I think Grad is on the come up. His loss at the Contender Series, yeah, left hook, got right back into working, and just has been great. And I
Yeah.
mean, the one thing that I'm a little bit afraid of is Alexander might have a good first round if
Yeah.
Grad gets sloppy, because that's the thing. He's a little bit more wild, a little bit more open, more energetic.
Yeah.
However, the overall fighter is Grad.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. I'm thinking, Fusion XL Performance is Mike Davis's camp.
Yeah.
So I would assume Alexander was training with Mike Davis.
Hmm.
But regardless of the fact, we're going to go heavy on Grad on this one.
You're gonna go heavy on Grad, huh? So your confidence level, you say, is pretty
I
high
think
on
a
Grad.
medium. I think it's a medium.
Medium. Nice, nice. And then I'm looking at the odds here. They currently have a Alexander as an underdog, but I think that line is closing. Let me tell you right now. Yeah. No, actually, no. Bogdan Grad is at a minus 120, where Alexander is at a plus 100. So a lot of people probably see the same thing that we see, is that if Grad is able to withstand the initial onslaught, as you mentioned, he can kind of, win this fight in the later rounds. But he has to survive that initial 2, 3, 4 minutes, right? In the
As
three
long as
round
he goes
fight.
past the first round, he's good.
Yes, sir. Good point. Good point. Next up, we have a women's bout. Women fighting in Saudi Arabia. What do you think about that, man?
I think if they want to enter that market,
That's good. we
Shields,
yeah, exactly.
Shields.
We have Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Myra Bueno Silva. Jasudavicius is 12-3-0 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last beating Lipski via submission. Silva is 10-4-1 and is 2-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Macy Chiasan via KO. Jasmine likes to grapple. She likes to take her opponents down, controls them. She grinds while she's on the ground. She likes to use her striking to set up her takedowns and find solid openings to do so. She's primarily a grappler, pretty much. We've seen her do it time and time again. I think her last fight, we called and we predicted that she was going to win via that fashion when she fought Lipski. Silva is well rounded, but she relies more on her ground and submission game. She's versatile. Her record doesn't reflect how good she really is. She's kind of had like a bad stint, right? And she's also dropping down in weight, I believe. She's fought the better competition and has contended for the title in the past. Uh, Despite that, though, I think Jasmine Jasudavicius is going to outwork her. I think she's going to secure takedowns. She's going to get the fight to the ground. She's going to get busy. And I think we're going to see a lot of scrambles on the ground and a lot of times them kind of, going back and forth. But I think Jasmine's gonna be the bigger of the two. What do you think?
Everything in this fight is telling me to pick the Canadian, but
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the right. I'm gonna ignore it. I'm gonna ignore stats. I'm gonna go with Silva, and I'm gonna go based off.
Really? You're
I
gonna go
might
with
be
Silva?
wrong. Yeah, this
Okay.
is this. I mean, the reality is Jasmine is the up and coming star.
Yes,
Where
sir.
I see, yeah, where I see things popping up is is this fight at bantamweight? Because
This fight is at bantamweight. Yes,
if
it's
I'm
at
not
136.
mistaken, yeah,
Yeah,
she's coming
136.
up. Jasmine is coming up. Wait, um, Tracy Cortez is a flyweight, and Priscilla's a flyweight, and Fatima Kling. So she's stepping up to a new weight division.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is a very low. I'm gonna pick Silva. I would not recommend. I'm just doing it because of a degen. Um, I look at the losses and I look at Holly Holm. Holly Holm was on her way out. I look at Raquel Pennington, former champion. She did have her in the first and second round, and then she got gas. But I'm gonna go with Silva.
Okay, so you're going with Silva. I'm gonna go with Jasmine to win this fight. This is the first fight on the card. We're on opposing ends, but I don't think it's gonna be the last. I think you and I are gonna be on different ends as the
Sure.
card progresses. So we'll
Let's
move
go.
on here. Um, yeah, I mean, listen, Silva at plus 185. I don't agree with the odds. I think it should be a lot closer. I think the odds are kind of based on the recency bias, right? If you look at her last fight against Macy, she was winning that fight until she got cut, right? So I think the record, like you mentioned, don't look to the right. The record can be misleading,
Uh-huh.
but she is pretty good. That's why I said she's underrated. She's pretty good. She's fought tougher
Great.
competition. Yeah.
She's great. It's just the fact that, and you know this, she's going against a higher caliber fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to who she's faced, and
Mm-hmm.
even like Silva's last fight was a stoppage, was a cut stoppage. So we'll see.
Exactly.
I mean, this fight should be closer than what it is, but the
Yeah.
odds are saying, well, she's washed up, and if Silva loses this fight, I think she gets cut from the UFC. So
Oof.
we'll see.
You're
Yeah,
predicting the walking papers, huh?
I'm
You
picking
aren't wrong, bro. Last time you said if Ihor Potieria loses his fight, he might get those walking papers. And what happened? He got released. He got
it.
released the other day.
It's just when you co-main event. You gotta remember, 2 fights ago she was co-main eventing
Hmm.
UFC Toronto. I saw her in person, and it was exciting until it wasn't. And the UFC don't like that. They
Yeah,
they, they don't like
they're
they don't
quick to
like
love
that.
you
So
and then quick to hate you, huh? That's how it goes
exactly. So
sometimes.
she needs to prove, you know, she needs to prove a lot in this fight. So we'll see.
Right on. We'll move on here. Next on the card we have Fares Ziam up against
Mike Davis.
mine got updated. Mine has Terrence McKinney next. Sorry. Let me
That's okay.
Let me go. We have Fares Ziam up against Mike Davis. Ziam is 16-4-0 and is 4-5 in their last 5 bouts. Last beating Matt Fervola via KO TKO, where he turned around and hit him with that knee in Paris. Beautiful knockout. Davis is 11-2-0 and is 4-5 in their last 5 bouts. Last beating Nathan Levy via submission. When you look at Ziam, he's a good let me see where. Oh, they moved him to the main card. That's why. So this fight, since the card has been adjusted, they moved this fight to the main card. So
Of course.
that's why. Ziam has good technique. He has good footwork. He's a solid kickboxer. He has the kickboxing background. He has great kicks, and he's on a 4-fight win streak. His grappling is improving with each fight. Davis is a well-rounded fighter. He's also on a 4-fight win streak. He's suffered some injuries, which has had him out of competition. I think the last time he fought was, I want to say, a while ago, huh? Let's see, when was the last time he fought?
Who, Davis?
Oh no, Davis
Ziam.
fought in 2024. Yeah, he last fought in 2024. So he last fought last year. Davis, yeah, like I said, he's well rounded. He has solid striking. He has decent power. He can secure takedowns, and he likes to work on the ground. I, you know, fight is really good in my opinion. I'm excited for this fight, and I'm glad that they moved it to the main card. I honestly think it can go either way. It's pretty even. They have Ziam at a plus 120 and Mike Davis at a minus 140, based on the fact that Mike Davis is more powerful. He's the more exciting fighter. But I think Ziam has some good momentum. He's developing. He's, becoming a greater fighter each time he's out there. I want to see how he does with the takedowns. I want to see, if he's able to snuff a lot of Davis's takedown attempts, and how is the striking exchange gonna look. But I'm gonna go with the dog here. I think Farziam um can take this. It's gonna be tough though, because Mike Davis is a tough cat. He can get the knockout. He has power, right? He can get the knockout. So, but I'm gonna ride with Ziam on this one. I want to see how he does.
I thought you were gonna pick Davis. I am going with Ziam. I think Ziam has all the tools in the
Mm-hmm.
kit to get this done. And flying high on a performance, knocked out Frivola, let him flat.
Mm-hmm.
My boy was eating croissants the next day with the thing in the head. I like the range. I think
Yeah.
Ziam will control the range. I'm a little bit scared what happens if Davis decides to grapple. Um, I look at this fight from a perspective of who's fought the tougher opposition. There was a
Yeah.
time with Frivola. Frivola's pretty high. He
Yeah.
was high and he's done good
People like him.
things. And
He's good.
the only thing I didn't like is the takedown. But like initially in the fight with Ziam,
Yeah.
Frivola took him down, and that's where I kind of had a little issue. When I look at Davis, I look at his the loss 5 years ago, which Gilbert Burns, but that's a prime Burns.
Yeah. And that was 5 years ago, right?
That was close to 6 years ago, which is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's something about the kid, the momentum, the style.
Mm-hmm.
They pumped him up to the main event. The training camp as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's would kill Cliff. Um, and like there's something about that camp that Reader RDR did amazing
Yeah.
after So I think he's gonna pick up from that win and go from there. So I have him at a low.
Yeah, I have him as a low. I have him at a low as well. I think this fight can go either way. I think Davis has real potential to put him out. But like you mentioned, I want to see how the grappling goes, how Ziam's takedown defense is, and how the striking exchanges. He does have the reach advantage. Is he going to keep him at bay with his leg kicks? Chop him down and kind of piece him up as the fight progresses. I'm going to be very interested to see this fight. I'm excited for this fight. I'm going to go with Ziam as well at a low. Let's move on here to the next bout. We have Terrence McKinney up against Damir Hadzovic. Now, I don't agree with these odds off the bat. They have Terrence McKinney at a minus 350 favor, whereas Hadzovic at a plus 275. Now, McKinney's very inconsistent, right? He's 15-7-0 and is 2-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Esteban Ribovic via KO. Hadzovic is 14-7-0 and is 2-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Mark Diakazi. I don't know how to say it. Diakiazi via unanimous decision. There we go. We're sounding out words. Via unanimous decision. McKinney is well rounded. He has the wrestling, he has the judo, the striking, the speed, the power, and the technique. But we've seen him get hit in the past. We've seen him get dropped. His chin is suspect, and he also gets exhausted and jaded as the fight progresses. His cardio isn't all there, which kind of leads to him getting knocked out, right? Because when you're tired, your hands go down. You're leaving your face vulnerable to getting hit. Hadzovic, on the other end, he's 38 years old. He has the durability. He can survive an initial onslaught from McKinney, and he does have the potential to win as the fight progresses and Kenny slows down. But I think at 38 years old, up against Terrence McKinney, who is well rounded, he has the chin and the cardio issue. I'm gonna go with McKinney to win this fight. I don't like it though. I'm probably not gonna bet on this. I'm gonna stay away, but McKinney should get it done.
Yeah, and McKinney, I mean, the UFC has him because he either gets knocked out or he produces knockouts.
Great way to put it. Yep.
Yeah, he's a highlight reel. Then that goes both ways. I'm gonna go with McKinney. I don't like the inactivity from Demir. He fought last time close to 3 years ago, 2 years and a half, and then prior to that, he fought Yancy Medeiros. That was 4 years ago. So then Ronaldo Moicano, and I
Ooh,
think this
yeah,
was
man.
at lightweight. Moicano was fighting at lightweight or featherweight here.
I'm not
This
sure.
is at yeah. 1 second. Yeah, this is a lightweight because McKinney is a lightweight fighter. I'm gonna go with McKinney. Um, it
Okay.
could get nasty for McKinney if he overextends himself. Um, but I don't think he does that tonight. I think he comes out and he's more polished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're both going with McKinney here. So far we've only disagreed on one bout, and that's the woman bout. So
Yes,
moving
sir.
on here. And before we move on, make sure you guys hit the like, hit the subscribe. Make sure you comment whether you agree with us, whether you disagree with us. Show some love, help the algorithm, help us grow. We aren't going anywhere. We drop these breakdown videos every week alongside with our post fight reaction videos. We also do shorts. We also engage on X. Make sure you follow us on X. The link is in the description below. Our username is in the description below. Make sure you show some love. You follow us there. Every fight card we do our post fight analysis immediately as the fight ends with the live updates, the round by round analysis. A lot of people seem to like that. A lot of people seem to engage with those, and not everybody has the time or potential to watch the fight during the time. They're either out on Saturday night, especially on this card. It's going to be during the day, right? People have kids. They could be out watching their kids play little league. They could be working. So it's really nice to get there and watch and read the fight analysis, which my boy Sergio does, and he kills them. I love reading them. They're really good. So we're going to continue doing that. Make sure you tap in, show some love, and then at the end of that, we pin an article to the top of our X page where you could see every fight and see what transpired and what happened. So that's something that we offer completely for free, no subscription needing. All we ask is for a like, for a follow, for a subscription. That's all we ask for. We're not charging you anything, and we're going to continuously do that. So make sure you tap in and show some love. Next up, we have Shamil Gaziev up against Thomas Petersen. Gaziev is the favorite at a minus 400, whereas Petersen is the underdog at a plus 300. Gaziev is 13-1 and 0 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last beating Dontel Mays. Whereas via unanimous decision, whereas Petersen is 9-2 and 0 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last beating Mohammed Usman via unanimous decision. You know, for me, Gaziev has an advantage when it comes to power, striking, and his accuracy. He's accurate with this throw. His path to victory will be to keep this fight on its feet. Petersen, on the other hand, he's decent everywhere. He's not great everywhere, but he's decent. He has a disadvantage in this fight when it comes to the striking, though. I think Gaziev is the better striker of the two. But Petersen, he likes to wrestle. He can secure takedowns. And if he's able to take down Gaziev, he will drag this fight out. But I entire Gaziev and win. But I don't see that happening. I think Gaziev is improving with each fight. I think he's gonna make he's made the improvements needed from his loss, and I think he gets it done here. I think Gaziev's gonna win, and I agree with the odds. I'm gonna go with the medium for Gaziev. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the underdog. Um,
Okay.
I'm gonna go that. I think if Ghazi can get him out in the round, but if he survives the round, he Peterson takes him out. I don't
Okay.
like that my man retired when he fought Biggie Boy. He got the loss to Biggie Boy.
Uh huh.
What did he do? He retired immediately. Um, yeah, Dontel Mays. I I don't. It, it's what Connor calls stuck in the mud. He's a little bit slow.
Uh huh.
I saw his fight with Pogues. He's got so much better, but for Shamil, like what the boys hype him up to be, he should give us more. But I'm gonna go with the low
Okay.
Peterson. I don't agree with minus 400. Now, if he comes in and starches him in the first two minutes, he deserves the minus 400.
Possibility, right?
Oh
Anything's
yeah,
possible.
always.
Anything is possible. So there you have it. We're disagreeing on this fight. You're going with Peterson, whereas I'm going with Gaziev, and we'll see what happens. We'll move on here to the next fight. We have Mohammed Naimov up against Kai Ofli. Now, Naimov is the favorite at a minus 260, whereas Ofli is the underdog at a plus 210. Naimov is 11-3 and 0 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Felipe Lima via submission. Ofli is 11-3 and 1 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Marin Santos via KO in the Dana White Contender Series finale. Ofli is a uh, BJJ black belt. He likes to work while on the ground. The question here and the big thing is he going to be able to secure takedowns? Can he take Imavov's striking power? Can he take a hit? Is he going to be able to take the strike? Is he going to be able to defend himself on the feet and then utilize his takedowns to secure to secure that the fight goes to the ground and kind of work while he's on the ground? When you look at Naimov, he's well rounded. He's the better striker. He has power and is the better grappler. He will look to secure takedowns. He has struggled with takedown defense, but that shouldn't be an issue here. I don't think. Ofli is one of those guys that is constantly shooting for takedowns, right? He's good on the ground, but he's not constantly shooting for takedowns. So that's why I said the big question is Ofli going to be able to take him to the ground and kind of work and, secure those position of advantages and scramble on the ground? But I don't think so. I think Naimov gets it done here. What do you think?
Same. Naimov gets it done. I think he's going to be a great. I think it's going to be too much for the kid. I really
Mm-hmm.
think that's the main issue. And watching his last fights, um, it's just he's better rounded. The fight camp is so much more.
Yeah.
There's more, there's more veterans. There's a little bit more in the pipeline there. Not to
Mm-hmm.
discard absolute MMA conditioning, but I try to go through the list and see. Let me see which killers do we got over here, and it was minimal. So I like the odds at a minus 260. It's takeable. I have a Naimov at a medium.
Yeah, and I think Ofli, if I'm not mistaken, when he fought Santos, he was the favorite going into that fight, and I had chose him to win that fight against Santos. But watching that fight and seeing how he wasn't able to defend himself on the feet really made me like discouraged in betting him in the future, right? Like seeing how susceptible he was to getting hit, I didn't like. So yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go with the medium as well. We'll move on
Yes.
here to the next fight. This is a good fight. I like this fight. This is another fight that I'm excited for. We have Said Nurmagomedov up against Vinicius Oliveira. Nurmagomedov is 18-3-0 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last beating Muingaforov via submission. Oliveira is 21-3-0 and is 4-5 in their last five bouts, last beating Ricky Simone via unanimous decision. Now, Said Nurmagomedov is the favorite at a minus 185, whereas Vinicius is the underdog at a plus 150. When you look at both these fighters, you see that Nurmagomedov is lengthy. He likes to utilize his length and maintain distance. He does get submissions, but the majority of the fights where he gets those subs is when he's losing in those fights and he gets a lucky guillotine, he gets a lucky choke, and you know he ends up tapping his opponents. But in those fights where he's won via submission, he's lost the striking exchanges. If you really look at his past fights, let me pull up his record here. And then when you look at Oliveira, he likes to stay active. He pushes forward. He maintains an aggressive pace throughout the fight. He's the better striker, in my opinion. And I think he can utilize the wrestling to mix things up, take Said to the ground. And I don't think Said's going to have his way with him and securing those, chokes, those submissions. And, I think he's going to have good defense. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Vinicius here. I think since his debut when he beat Ricky Sapage with that flying knee, and then taking Ricky Simone to a decision and beating him via unanimous decision. Ricky Simone for your second UFC fight is a good guy to fight, a strong person to fight, a good grappler. I think he gets it done here. I think he's gonna pull out the victory. What do you think?
I'm gonna have to go on the opposing end after watching a couple of films, and it's hard. I mean, look, the momentum is going to Vinicius. Vinicius, the
Mm-hmm.
momentum is there. This is the type of cat that if he secures a knockdown, he could be in the top 15.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think the thing is, this Nurmagomedov is not in the Habib camp. I just like his striking a bit more. I don't know if Ricky Simone was injured taking that fight. Um, he the takedown weren't really there. When I go back and I watch the fights with Bernardo Sopaj, Sopaj prior to the knockout was able to, sorry, prior to the flying knee, he was able to take him down a couple different times. So I, th- you know, I think this is a humbling moment for the kid. I think if Nurmagomedov comes in with the game plan and says, you know what, I'm gonna mix it up, and this cat is good mixing it up, and he has very smooth. Um, I like his striking. I like his striking. Um, I'm trying to kind of decipher what happened with Martinez. Martinez was just him that night. To be honest with you, he was just on fire. Martinez a lot of times shows very good sign of greatness, but often not. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a low. Um, yeah, if the reach was more significant, I would say, you know what, I Vinicius, but it's a reach point 0.5 and a 1 inch height advantage as well. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go low with Nurmagomedov.
And my only concern with Oliveira is he likes to push forward and be aggressive. You know, I would hate for him to get countered, get dropped, and then get subbed. But I think, you know, in comparison to like Jonathan Martinez, I think he's gonna get in his face. He's gonna make him uncomfortable. He's gonna push him up against the cage, and yeah, I think Oliveira gets it done. So we'll move on here. We disagree on this fight, and we'll see what happens. Next up, we have heavyweight action. Some big boys. Some big boys who do not like to grapple at all are going to go at it. We have Sergey Pavlovich, who is the favorite at a minus 300 up against Jairzinho Rozenstruik at a plus 240. Pavlovich is 18-3 and 0 and is 3-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Alexander Volkov via unanimous decision. Rozenstruik is 15-5 and 0 and is 3-5 in their last five bouts, last beating Tai Tuivasa via split decision. We have two heavyweight strikers here, man. Who you going with?
I'm going with Sergey. Sergey, and what really took it away from me is the reach. I think this kid is nasty on the reach, and I mean, look, he almost he wobbled Aspinall. Um,
Yep.
and that was only a year and 2 months ago. Was life for that one, but he wobbled to Aspinall. Aspinall got it done. Then he goes against Volkov, which I think Volkov is the true number one contender to fight the interim champion Aspinall if Aspinall doesn't go Jones. I look at the reach. Shout out to Biggie Boy. I don't think Ty is tough, but I don't know, man. The split decision with Tuivasa didn't really impress me.
Yeah.
Um, he was the one that knocked out Shamil. That's in this card, and then prior to that, you have Almeida with a loss. I wish that I think during fight night, Sergey gets to a minus 400, minus 500. The reach is a little bit of much. Let's see how he does. I mean, look, Sergey made his UFC Octagon debut against Overeem years
Hmm.
ago and got stunned. So it's one of those things of, my guy Rozenstruik is very similar to Overeem to a little bit of an extent. But I gotta go with the reach for this one, man. I think he's gonna be composed, and these are one of the fights that for if Sergey loses, they might send him packing. Three
Yeah.
losses in a row, not good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those fights where it's just a reminder of who he is. And if you look at his last fight against Alexander Volkov, Volkov won because he struggled closing the distance. You know, Volkov maintained his distance. He utilized his jab, and he kept him at bay, and he pieced him up that way. And he, beat him via the unanimous decision there. So I don't. And as you mentioned, he does have the height and the reach advantage over Rozenstruik. You know, he also has power and speed behind his punches. If you watch him, he throws nice punches. He's powerful. He's fast. You know, before he lost to Tom Aspinall, he was knocking everyone out in the first round. You know, Rozenstruik, he has a Muay Thai background. He likes to utilize his counter striking to punish his opponents. And as the fight progresses, his volume increases. He's patient in finding his openings and his shots, but I don't think he's going to be able to get in close. I don't think he's going to be able to get into the pocket, get into that tight clinch, right? And, utilize his striking that way. I think Pavlovich is going to keep him at bay. He's going to maintain his distance. He's going to piece him up. I think this fight is going to be under 2.5 rounds in my opinion. If that prop is there and it looks juicy, I'll probably throw some money on that. I might even throw money on Pavlovich via KO. Um, just I think he's gonna come in. He knows what's at stake here, as you mentioned. What's at stake here, as you mentioned, he's on his 2-fight losing streak. I think he can't afford to lose another fight because he does get his walking paper. I think the heavyweight division needs some excitement. They need him to get a knockout here and get back into title contention, right?
Yeah,
So I'm gonna go with Pavlovich as well.
easy, easy.
Cool. Next up, we have our co-main event. We have Michael Venom Page up against Shara Bullet One Eye Magomedov. Magomedov is 15-0, undefeated, and is 5-5 in their last five bouts. Last beating Armin Petrosian with that double fist knockout at UFC 308. Page is 22-3-0 and is 3-5 in their last five bouts, last losing to Ian Machado Gary be a unanimous decision. In that fight, he turned Gary into a wrestler. It's impressive. When you look at Page, he has exceptional movement, great movement. He's an exceptional striker. You know, he likes to move in and out. He covers distance really well. He's entertaining to fight. If you watched him prior to entering the UFC, he's very entertaining. He's a showman, right? He's what Michael Chandler wants to be, right? He's very entertaining in his bouts. You know, Magomedov, when you look at him, he's an incredible kickboxer with incredible kicks. He throws a lot of kicks in his fights. Um, you know, he has great cardio, but he's going up against somebody who's also a good striker. So the question here lies is he going to turn into a wrestler? Is he going to utilize takedowns? Is he going to, you know, not engage with Michael Venom Page? I think we're not going to see him become a shoot for takedowns, but I think we're going to see somewhat of him using trips, you know, using trips, kind of like using his footwork to trip Venom Page and to secure knockdowns that way. I don't think he's going to get on the ground too much, but I think this is an exciting fight. It's a real test for Shera. Is he him? You know, can he get a win? Can he get a knockout over Michael Venom Page? Another thing too that I kind of is turning me off is that this is a one-off at 185. He's bumping up to middleweight, and he's gonna go down to welterweight after this. You know, for Venom Page. So I don't understand why, but it is what it is. What do you got, man?
I just think he was just got the call. Hey, you want to fight this guy? Co-main event,
Mm-hmm.
and Michael said, you know what? I don't gotta cut weight. Let's do it.
I'll take the bag, right?
I'll take it. Let me take the co-main event slot.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, look, I was debating in this fight because I'm a fan of Page.
entertaining cat, man. He's great.
Yeah, and also like like we got to see what happened against Holland, and
But that's
even
that's
like
Kevin Holland. It's inconsistent,
That Ian Gary fight was very close.
man. Mm-hmm.
Gary just edged it. If he wasn't wrestling, he would have been out of there. But
I
yeah, I'm
agree.
gonna go with Page. I'm gonna go with Page. I have him at a low. Um, I It's gonna be hard for Shara. Shara would have to get on the inside. One of the things that if you look at Shara's passive opponents, they tend to have a better first round. Like even like the other guy had a good first round, but
Mm-hmm.
Shara adapted very quickly. It was very quickly mid first round adapted. I just think I'm thinking about the leg kicks, and with that range, it's gonna be a bit hard because when Shara throws the leg kicks,
Mm-hmm.
um, Page does a very good dart, and it's just like he just kind of lunges in with a strike.
That's one thing you
Um,
talked about, right? His darting ability, his movement.
yeah, he has very good movement. Concerns? I mean, honestly, if my guy gets starts wrestling like Hamza, now we're in trouble. But I don't think he does that. I don't. I predict Page by decision.
You predict Page by decision. This is a 5 round fight, I believe, right? It's a co-main
Five
5 round
round?
fight. Is
No,
it
no,
5 round or 3 rounds? No, if it's
three
three
round.
rounds, right? Yeah, it's
Three round.
3 rounds. So yeah, 3 round fight. So mm,
If it were five, I would have given it to Page like in a medium. I don't think.
yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna go with Magomedov here.
Yeah. But in a 5 round fight, I don't think Magomedov has the stamina
Mm,
right now in his career.
yeah,
Page is 30, close to 38. Yeah,
38
I
years old,
mean,
man.
this is a fascinating fight. Let's see what happens.
See what happens. This is an entertaining fight. It's a striker's delight here. I hope it remains that way. I hope we don't see a complete shift and just turns into a grappling ass fight. But I think this fight's gonna be entertaining. It's gonna be a banger. It can go either way, but I'm gonna give the slight edge to Magomedov here. I hope he retains his O. We have seen it. The last card. I think you mentioned it off air that we've seen a lot of people lose their undefeated. Lose their undefeated streak. So can it happen again? And Saudi Arabia, you're calling for it to happen, so we'll see what happens. Next up here, we have our main event. We have Israel Adesanya up against Nasruddin Imavov. Adesanya is 22-4-0 and is 2-5 in their last 5 bouts, last losing to Dricus Duplessis via submission. Imavov is 15-4-0 and is 3-5 in their last 5 bouts, last beating Brendan Allen via unanimous decision. This is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Adesanya's first non-title fight since 2019. He's a middleweight legend. His striking looked good up against DDP. He was attacking the body. He looked crisp. Um, you know, he just has that vulnerability where his grappling isn't all there. He's able to be taken down, and DDP was able to do that, take him down, and took his back and submitted him. You know, but exceptional kickboxer, really great striking, really great counter striking. I think he does have the striking edge up against Imavov in this fight. He is the better striker, but I don't think Imavov is a bad striker. I think Imavov is fast. He has good boxing and can utilize grappling if needed. He does struggle, however, when it comes to the cardio, and that's my main concern in this fight is how is he going to look in the championship rounds. He's going up against somebody who's been in title fights since 2019, who has the experience, who knows what it takes in the championship rounds, who's been training with champions. If you've been following us on YouTube and X, right, he's been training with champions, so he's also stated that his mindset is different coming into this fight. Um, Speaking of Israel Adesanya, it's not personal. He kind of mentioned how his fight with DDP and Strickland was personal because they were able to get in his head or make him emotional, right? But this fight, he's just focusing on the fight and encompassing his true like um, MMA aura, uh, whatever. So my question here is, how is Imamov going to look as the fight progresses? Is his cardio is going to wither away? He also struggles when he's up against the cage. If I watched the fight against Jared Cannonier, and Cannonier's game plan was working, he was able to put him up against the cage and he wasn't able to do much, but he does a really good job of adjusting as the fight progresses. We saw it in the Brendan Allen fight. He was taken down in the first round. He was controlled. And then he came out in the second round. He snuffed every takedown. He pieced him up on the feet. He looked good on the ground. So that's my only concern with Imamov, but I think he can make the adjustments as the fight progresses. And I think Imamov's game plan is going to be mixing in some of the grappling, incorporate some takedowns in his game plan. And I think for him, he has to keep this fight at the center of the octagon. He has to push the pace. He has to maintain his distance, keep the fight at his pace, and not get entangled too much in striking exchanges with Israel Adesanya, who is the better striker here. Um, I like Imamov to win this fight. I think he gets it done, man.
I'm gonna go polar opposite. I think there's a reason why the former champion, one of the only man, well, the only man in the UFC to hold a knockout win over Pereira, and it's because he's in the striking. Like, look, I think if you look at retrospect, look at the Strickland fight. Um, I don't know what happened in that fight. I really don't. It's just that's a very hard style to fight, unfortunately for Izzy, being a counter striker, right? Then you
For
got
sure.
Imanov suffered a loss, same thing. 2 years ago, to Sean Strickland, kind of got derailed, then fought Curtis Blade, and then he got very active as of a year ago. I mean, he fought Deloise, he fought a Cannonier, he bought Brendan Allen, and Brendan Allen tried to. It was a 3-round fight.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He looked tired in that fight too.
yeah, he looked very tired. I honestly, I like what I see from Izzy. I like the range. I like the counter strike. He has something to prove. If he loses this fight, he starts becoming okay. Well, you're past your prime. 35 years old versus 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reach is going to be too much. The reach, the aura is going to be too much. Saudi Arabia. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with Izzy. I'm gonna go with Izzy. Like I want to say more things about Izzy, but I just think he hasn't. He could stop fighting. He didn't have to take this fight. I mean, especially
That Saudi money is different, brother. You get that call from the boys, like, listen, they're throwing X amount under the table. What are we doing here?
yeah. Well, but he's a star. I mean, look, Paulo like he's been shooting 500, 600, 750,000 pay-per-view buys every time he fights, and I think this kid's a star, and he's gonna prove and show us this coming weekend why he's great. And honestly, the slight favorite has it a minus 180. Looked at Bodog right now; it's a minus 172. I think as the fight progresses, he goes up. Um, I wish it dropped so I can catch him a little bit. I will be doing a single bet on Izzy.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
just,
not gonna bet on this fight. I think it can go either way. I think, it's just as you mentioned, what mindset is he going to come in with, like is he, there's a lot of questions surrounding whether he's washed, whether he's done, whether he's no longer at the upper echelon of the middleweight division, you know and you have a guy who's trying to get up there, he's trying to contend for a title, so this is a very important fight in my opinion for the division because it's gonna let us know, is Imamov ready to be up there? Is he ready to be up there? Are these younger cats, this new generation, Kyle Barallo, Imamov, are they ready to be up there, right? And Adesanya is the guy you got to go through, unfortunately, right? And it's not an easy guy to go up against. He does hold the only knockout up against Alex Pereira, as you mentioned. He got that one. But and look at his past two losses. He lost to the two guys that are fighting for the title. I mean, that tells you who Izzy is, who he's fought. He's fought the tough competition. He's been in the championship rounds. He can very much win this fight. He can knock out Imavov for all we know, right? As you mentioned, I think you predicted it when we talked off the air, right? He could knock him out in the later rounds, and you're gonna look at those props as the fight progresses. And I know you'd like to get into the live betting, so make sure you follow on X when that happens because we could give you that prop. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Imavov though. I'm gonna stay away from this betting wise, but I think Imavov does have a path to victory here, but he also has a lot of areas that I'm concerned with in regards to like the struggle, the cardio issue, and being put up against the cage, right? Where I see Izzy excelling if he
Yeah.
utilizes that game plan. But yeah, yeah. So we disagree on the co-main and main event. So one of us is gonna do very well, and one of us is gonna do very bad. So we'll see.
Well, there's draws, but yeah, and I mean this opens up. I don't. I told we were speaking on the phone about this. So
Yes, sir.
if Izzy manages to secure this win, it's one of those things where he might be in title contention, and then you have the Hamzat question, and then we need to often remind ourselves Hamzat is a fighter that often gets sick, and Hamzat was catapulted. But what happened in 2022? My man fell sick, and he had to, he was on and off, on and off, on and off. I hope that's not the case. I hope he could kind of fight through. But if he doesn't, this opens Izzy up for for another crack at the belt because the ranking stipulates Sean Strickland is number one. So if Sean wins, right, becomes champion, right? If Imavov loses to Izzy, then you got to
Mhm.
give it to Hamza. But what happened if Hamza, fails? Adesanya's right there, and that's what he meant by I don't like. To me, I don't chase the belt because I'm the draw. I'm the guy. So if he wins, and I hope so. Yeah, let's see what happens with Hamza. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's a great fight. If Hamza manages to do what he did to to Izzy, let's say for example, they ever contend to Robert Whitaker, Hamza just becomes this man, the star power that kid would have.
He would do it. I mean,
He
that's
would,
the reality. He would
he would,
do what he did to Whitaker to Adesanya.
he would. So it's interesting even to see the odds. And like I said, does Imavov play spoiler to this? Because if Imavov manages to take Izzy out, it would be one of the last remaining old guard in a way, right? You got Robert Whitaker sitting at number 4, and what's have they announced the Kai Borrello fight already or no?
No, but one of the things I wanted to say too is, Kai Barallo asked for Israel Adesanya, right? And Israel Adesanya kind of, you know, didn't decline him, but he went ahead and chose to fight Imamov instead because I think stylistically this is a better fight for Adesanya, striker against striker, right? I don't think he wanted to see Borallo because Borallo is one of those guys that's into the grappling heavy, right? He's into the grappling heavy, and I think that would have been a bad matchup for Adesanya. But they haven't announced the fight for him yet. I thought he was gonna fight on the Australian card, but no, none of the boys got to be on the card because remember Prates and Borallo wanted to be on that card, right? And they didn't get it.
Yeah, this like if you look at the rankings, Candinier sitting at 8 fighting a RoboCop, which is not ranked, which is I mean that's it's shout out to Candinier. It's a great example of what these fighters should be doing.
Yeah.
Give it to the guy on top.
Mhm.
Robert Whitaker's taking the number 4. You give it to Borallo. Like I said, if Izzy wins, there's a congestion at the top, and they'll probably get Hamza. Hamza wins DDP, and like look, you could dance however you want. Like that's the thing about it. You could do a rematch with DDP. You could do a rematch with Strickland. And if Hamza manages to to fight for that title, man, that would be a great retirement fight for Izzy. And I say that's in a very nice way because Izzy is getting into the later years of his career. And when you touch that, like how many chances can you contend for a belt? I think that's the real question, and
Yeah.
we're gonna find out. If he wins this weekend, we're gonna find out.
Yeah, this is an important fight in my opinion for the middleweight division, followed by the championship fight next the week after at UFC 312, Duplessis versus Strickland number 2. Right, that's another important fight for the division. Dana White has already stated that Hamzat is next. He's gonna get the winner of the championship fight at 312, and he's gonna fight in June, I believe. He says he wants to fight in June, but who knows when that fight's gonna be, man? I think it's gonna probably be October, maybe June, July, October. But he is next in line, and then we'll see what happens, man. We'll talk in our post-fight recap show on what's next and seeing on how this card plays out. But yeah, there we have it. Those are our picks. We disagree on a lot of these fights. I think 4 fights, if after going off the dome here, 4 fights we disagree on. Last week we agreed on all the fights, right?
Yeah.
So we don't always agree, and we're not always going to agree. That's why I love doing this with you, because you have a different insight, a different perspective that I respect and that I enjoy listening to. And I like the competitiveness that we have within ourselves, right? Like, we keep it tamed on air, but off air, when we do talk a lot of shit to each other, but that's what it is. It's all love. It's always love. uh any parting words, man?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, look, it's going to be a very early fight. Like I said,
Mhm.
now with the cancellation, I think it's going to have to. They're going to have to throw it down to. There's 2 fights canceled, so now what are we looking at? We're looking at maybe 10 a.m. start time, 7 a.m. your time, 10 a.m. my time.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
see,
see.
we'll see. But
We'll
always a
see.
pleasure doing these with you, champ.
Always, man.
Follow us on X, follow us on YouTube,
Hell yeah.
and yeah, see you in the weekend.
Yeah, make sure you hit the like, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Show some love. Help us with the algorithm. That's all we ask for. We're not charging you anything. We will put out our picks later on in the week, along with some bets that we have in line. I had put a bet actually before we leave on the Al Sawadi fight. I had picked. I think I picked him and Vinicius Oliveira. I put them together, because I like him as a dog,
Yeah.
and that's gonna get scrapped because he pulled out. So I'm kind of bummed it's gonna get refunded. But I'm gonna put out some bets. I'm waiting for some props to come out to put them out on X for you guys, and hopefully we make some money. Hopefully we make you guys some money. Hopefully we continue the streak of doing well. We always maintain transparency. We'll let you know how our picks do on our reaction video, so you can kind of see how we're going for the year. At UFC, Mackenzie Dern up against Amanda Ribas. My man here got 11 of 14. I got 9 of 14. And then we went 9 of 13. So we're consistently calling these cards decently well. It could be better. We're going to get better. We're going to continuously improve. We haven't had a full card where we got every fight correct, right? I think last year we had a couple of cards where we were like a 13 of 14, 13 of 14, but we haven't got a clean sweep. So that's the goal. We're going to do that. We're providing you good picks, good insights, good opinions, good perspective. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe. We're out. Love what you love. Do what you do. Peace.